Hello, everybody. Let's do this. I'm gonna work on some water, and I'm gonna work on some mountains. I'm gonna work from some trees. I'll work on this down here, and I'll work on this up here. And you're gonna see how it turns out. Maybe I should just shut my mouth and start painting. Now, what I'm doing is painting the rock, putting some highlights, carefully edging the top of the rock.
Look at that! Another disaster. There's barely any paint left out here. Some of it's dry, some of it's not. I'll just work with what I got. I don't am anymore because who knows how long I should paint before I stop.
As I continue painting this rock, I'm adding more highlights on the different rocks, trying to get the shadowing and the darkness perfected. As I keep on going, I'm going to start adding a lot more shadowing. As we have right here, looking pretty good and spiffy. Oh, are you watching? No, I'm still working on the rock, putting a little detail on that rock right there. Now, that rock right there is supposed to be underwater, so I'm trying to make it look more underwater. Adding some shadow, some darkness, a little brown. And then now I'm working on some highlights at the water. I want to make it a little more blue, so I'm going to add some bluish to it. Get it over, just like so.
Beautiful.
As I continue, I'm starting a little rock in the distance there, I can see, just putting in the highlight. And then I'm going to go from there. And then now I'm going back and forth. So, here's what I'm doing. Right now I'm putting dark, deep water crevices in there. Gotta get that darkness in there. Make it look like they're underwater.
I'll be working on a lot of the water, rocks in the water, the underwater water, the underwater water.
As we zoom in here, you can see as I put in the dark lines of the shadows of the water. It's looking nice, and then eventually I'm gonna smooth it out with a brush and blend it out a little bit. Make it nice and pretty. There, here we go. And some brown in there. And in dark now, and little highlights on top of it. Now I'm adding a little more blue. Trying to get the mixture. Go back and forth. Back and forth. I can't get it right the first time, so I gotta do it over and over again. And so now I'm adding some more brown. Going back and forth again. And some whites. Make it nice and pretty. Then I'll switch over to the rocks because, who knows what I'm doing next? Because now I'm getting some highlights in the right. Oh, there, put a little brown in the rock. And some detail on that rock right there. Ooh, now I'm working on that rock. Look at the hair, getting the shadow on that one side of it. Shadows on those rocks right there. That's how we do it. Slowly but surely. Get some shadowing. You can go back and do some highlights. Then more shadows, then more highlights. Get that shadow. Yeah, there we go. I'm making some reflections. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a lot of this water. Because this is muddy down here, so we're gonna show the muddy and some rocks and try to get some of the underwater rocks. And then this nice distant deep water down here. And in between, I'm gonna work a little bit on some mountains with some trees here and there, getting all that perfected. As we continue working on this, it gets repetitive, and we're watching it over and over, and the detail, putting the dark shadows on the bottom of the rocks like so. So beautiful. Yeah, look at me go. Look at that. Now I'm continuing, then blending it back and forth. Then going to the highlights again, and more highlights. Going back to highlighting and shadowing. 'Cause that's how we do it around here, back and forth. Working on them rocks. Look at that. Getting those details in there. Taking a while. It's more than Bob Ross does. Now, that reminds me of this one time at band camp. What I'm about to do next is I'm going to grab a fan brush and use white. Now, I'm going to do a lot of reflections in some highlights in the water. The show reflections, and it makes it look so much nicer. You know, I'm going to be 550 years old before I finish this date because I'm so slow. Now that I'm doing this quickly, working on those rocks. Can't give enough of them rocks, can I? Look at that. Putting those shadows in there. Oh, there we go. Get some shadows going. Add more shadows. Shadows on that rock. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to go into the water part. Some shadows in the water. Some dark shadows. All over the place. On that rock. Gonna put some shadows. Some shadows over there. Look at that. That looks pretty. That's very pretty. Now I'm gonna try and blend it up a little bit. Smooth it out. Nice and pretty like. Man, look at those nice brush strokes. I'll handle that brush just right. Getting those lights in there. Getting those darks in there. Now, what you want to do is you'll want to take your time to get it just right. Getting those distinguished differences between the rock looking pretty good and more white and some different colors in there. But I'll keep doing this over and over until I get it right. So it takes a while going over this here and there, back and forth, working on all those different rocks, trying to get it just right. Here we go. And some of that yellow ochre, some of that mossy color underneath the water, making it look distinguished. You ever have some colors in there? That helps a lot, getting some colors in there. So it's just not just brown, little yellow, little blue. There we go. Look at those brush marks. What a master. Look at that. Blend that in a little bit, then going back over it, over and over, constantly going over and over till I get it right.
And I hope you're enjoying this. Because if you're not, I don't care.
Now, I decided to work on them trees. Those trees were something else. Add more trees, and then I'm going to do some highlights on the trees. And I got to get them just right so they stand out in that distance. Way back there. Look at me go. Nice and slow. Takes me forever, so I got to speed it up so we can get this thing done. Yeah, there we go. Let's throw in that green. Get that sap green, some little black, some little yellow in there. Mix it up. Then get some highlights after I get that green in there. Get them look like some nice trees in the distance. Get those trees going. Slowly, but surely. Look at me put on those reflections, and then I just wipe them right off. More reflections, and then I wipe them right off. Look at that. I can't see them again. Trying to add those reflections on this top part. Over and over, trying to get this in there just right. Now, eventually, I give up, and I do it right at the end, which you'll see in a moment, trying to get those highlights in there. Because we want to get those highlights. I ruined the mountain a little bit. So we're working on the mountain. Gonna paint some of the shadowing, then the highlights, and the brightness. Getting that edge of that mountain just right. I probably went over that 500 times. to get that water and get rocks that look like they're under the water. Here's, I think, the final part of where I'm doing reflections. And I think I finally got it decent looking with this final part of the reflections. Gone really delicate. Because in this part, I'm using a lot of linseed oil, then a little bit of white. Just a little bit, just to get that reflection and get that sharp. This took a lot of effort. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this to get it looking decent.